I'm the Apple What's It. Doing these lives because I'm working at the same time, but I can sort of tell you about how to self in family court and give yourself the best possible opportunity to have the best possible outcomes. A lot of family court is about psychology, and obviously it's about the law as well, but you've got psychology. It plays a massive part in that. So before if you're new to the family court world and family law world, right, you go in for a shock. You're in for a shock, right? Today is the first episode of TikTok, whatever, navigating family court successfully. And what we want to look at today is going to be behaviours that you need to look at before you've even got into court. Yeah. But before we do any of that, I need to share a bit about my journey, I suppose. Because why would you listen to me, someone with some big fat hair and a silly shirt on, telling you how to go for not even finished his BA honours in law, and he's chatting about his mouth off, saying like as if he knows loads, and he does. But ultimately, I've been doing this for 10 years, 11 years, nearly 12 years now. It's for how I started and how I ended. I'm at now two different things. I was angry, first of all. I was heavily led by Fathers for Justice. And that didn't help my case one single little bit. A lot from direct hands-on experience. It's changed how I look at life, because you can't go through family court and if you're going through a complex, messy breakup, and there's alienation going on and covert narcissism and mental health issues and that sort of stuff, it pulls you down. So there's some of these comments. I'm in court in second final hearing next week. Not seeing kids in 4 years. That's what I'm talking about. So it breaks you. That's definitely, it breaks you. So you can't go through these things and that not impact you as a human being and change who you are. Because obviously, when you're first going through it, you probably know yourself. You go through this stuff and it's angry. As a man at least, you go through it. It was like, why me? Why can no one else see what's going on? Why is it me that can? I'm with clients. When I'm with clients now as well. It's obvious, and I'm not biased. Maybe I am a little bit biased, but I can see what's happening. And if I can see what's happening, why can't the professionals see what's happening? So then it begs the question: why do fireworks have to even exist? Because it's one night a year, and you have to have it for the whole of the last week of fucking October, going into then, and then it's going to go all the way on until January the 2nd, and it just irritates me. Every night of the week. But there you go. Just a little whinge over. I'll stop there. Right. So when I first went through this in 2000, the world was so upside down and inside out when it comes to family law. I prolonged my case because I stupidly listened to Connor and Fathers for Justice. And I was in a vulnerable position, I suppose, because I was didn't have a father figure, didn't have to support me or give me guidance. So each court summons felt like a personal attack, and it was like I was constant. It was draining, emotionally draining, and anyone who's been through it, you've been through it. It's the most emotionally draining thing you're ever going to experience. It's something you're not even being listened to, but what your expectations were that you wanted out of it, if that makes sense. So you can go when you're going into the first hearings after and I'll get into that shortly. To stick on point actually. So we all know that it impacts you emotionally. Yeah, the worst part obviously is not seeing your kids. It impacts us as adults, as men, not seeing our children, and women and mums too, not seeing their children. It impacts our kids. She's just on GCSEs. I've made a lot of sacrifices to make sure that she is not impacted by the conflict that I don't have with her mum. I don't have it at all. But then I can't. That's because I don't engage with her coming at me because she attacks me. So you get out of that. You can't just switch that off. Well, you can, because it's your choice whether or not you engage. So if you engage, you become part of the problem. So that's my conflict. So if someone's attacking you and you can't do no right from wrong, when they're attacking you because you can't do anything right, is to engage and to defend yourself and defend your position. As soon as you do that, you become part of the problem, because you're part of, and there's the conflict that they're coming down on, because that impacts the children in the most negative way. So I've sat down one night, determined to find a way of ending that destructive cycle that was going on and on and on for years. We were going backwards and forwards to family court. She kept stopping contact for no reason whatsoever. And then she's got, it's a long story now where she's at now. She's got section 91.4 served on her, so she can't do anything else. But still, the court order that was served hasn't been adhered to, because she doesn't adhere. And I couldn't bear continually going through family court. And I promised my daughter no more family court. She was getting fed up with it. And that's how come I come to basically. We knew when me and my daughter knew when she was going to stop contact. I didn't go back to court to enforce it. I had life peace, really, because I've not been engaging in the problem, not been engaging in the conflict. You can't begin to imagine. You can't think what you need to do when you're doing. You can't even get into you fucked in family court. You fucked if you do. You fucked if you don't. Because if you don't, then you can get accused of not being not careful, not wanting to be around not at all. But then this is the thing, right? So it's a destructive cycle. Family court brings the worst out of you. Yeah, it's designed to bring the worst out of you. If it wasn't, you could go through family court and having success, and there would be no issues with men trying to kill themselves, suicidal men, men not going on. Why no one else can see that they're being abused? That's the other thing. Men being abused. We don't get. It's not being acknowledged. It's not being catered for, and that's going to piss anyone off through this shit. And you've got then you're trying to tell people you're a male victim of abuse, and no one's looking at you, no one's listening to you, and they're just mocking you and putting you. That's including police, that's including social services, that's including CAFCAS. Regardless of who you are, if you're a bloke, it seems to be impossible a non-molestation order to protect you, unless it's across undertakings, or to get one just full stop, because it just doesn't seem to happen. Again, we can be upset because you're a man, it's not going to happen, we can dwell on it, but there's no point in dwelling on it, because it's just going to keep you being angry and bitter. Accept these things and sort of move on. The conflict is what you need to end ultimately, and that's what impacts the children the most negative way. I promised Lila, obviously, no more family court, so we've stopped making applications. She's 16 now anyway, so. But then it was when I stood still and actually reflected on what I've done and what I teach people. That's what gets me through family court. That's what's got me through family court. Because when I first went through family court, I was impulsive. I was shutting my mouth off. I wasn't listening to people. I wasn't. I was shouting in court. My first case went on much longer than what it needed to be, because I was getting the wrong advice, and I wasn't aware of what was going on around me. So what I've decided to do is I put together as my core behaviours, my behavioural blueprint. And if you use these behaviours, and if you use this blueprint in terms of its core behaviours, then you will be sure to improve your chances of a successful outcome in family court. I mean, these behaviours are very easy. They're not easy at all, especially when you're dealing with a child that you feel like you are part of their life and you're being taken out at all, other than because someone has said a made up fictitious or exaggerated story about you. Yeah. So the first thing is you need to own your shit. No one's perfect. No one is perfect. Everyone's shit stinks. Yeah. So you need to make sure that you are owning your shit. Take your part in the relationship. And I don't care. People don't like it that I say this, right? But 97% of men are guilty of abuse, right? We don't even realize we're guilty of abuse. You cannot help women. You cannot help but be guilty of some sort of emotional and psychological abuse anytime you've had an argument with, whether it was raised voices or not raised voices, or even sometimes when you've mocked her or she's mocked you. You may have laughed it off and scoffed it off them, but in her mind, she might have been thinking, I didn't like that joke. That was a step too far. So that's emotional and psychological abuse. But you can't change that. You can't change how she feels. No, she wouldn't feel it's not right. But then you can't change someone's feelings. You can't just change someone's feelings. You can't turn around and say, no, you can't. She wasn't feeling that way. That wasn't out in feelings. And that's when it comes down to the fact that you've got your truth. You believe your statement to be true, so you've got your truth. She'll have her truth. Of the same situation, and then you've got the truth, the fly on the wall, independent, non-emotional, what actually really happened, no exaggeration, how it is. And that's what the judges have to try and determine. So when you're going into court, because no one does this, like no one does it apart from my people, and my people do it really well because they're scared of doing it. Don't get me wrong, when I say this, people get a bit, you sure? You need to own your shit to family court and be educated. Men need to be educated on what domestic abuse is. Domestic abuse is very different to domestic violence. Yeah, domestic abuse, everybody is, as far as I'm concerned, whether they accept it or not, whether they intend it or not, is one way or another, without a shadow of a doubt, in their logically and emotionally abusive to their partner, whether they mean to be or not. But anytime you've had unless you've never had an argument, unless you've never ever had an argument, in that case, yeah, you won't fall into that thing. But if you've had an argument, even one argument, and it was raised voices, and you had to make up and you had to apologise, it was abuse, emotional and psychological abuse. Likewise for her against you. But then she cannot change your feelings. You have feelings, so therefore you need to accept that she feels this way. That's an unintended consequence. Same as, what's his name? Clinton. When he did that, when there was back in the day, I don't know if any of you lot remember it, but back in the day, the president of America, Clinton, let some lady go down and say hello to his wiener when he was in office, right? So big thing. I don't know why. Hillary was his missus, but I could get that, I suppose. But that was a big thing, and that was he said that then. That was an unintended consequence. Your ex-partner, and this is what you need to remember as well. Your ex-partner, right? You've separated for a reason. You're not together anymore. You don't love each other anymore. You know how long she's felt that way for. You don't know how long she's not wanting to be with you. So, for example, she leaves you. Say she left you yesterday. Had a massive argument, and she's created an argument out of nothing because she does not want to be with you. And that's what they do. They create arguments out of nothing because they don't want to be with you. They'd much rather create an argument. I fucking love five of you. They create an argument so then they can have the argument so they can blame you for the argument. Yeah. So again, that's when if you engage, you're part of the problem. So own your shit when you're in the when you're going into court. Before you go into court, own your shit. Know what you want. Know what you can do differently. I went through years of being angry, years of blaming everybody else. 6 years of blaming everyone else. Down happened that I stood still and stopped and reflected on my life and thought to myself, what could I do differently? And ever since then, I've been doing things differently and trying to offer as a person every single day because I only compete with me. And that's the only person you need to compete with. Yourself, not me. I'd be so stupid. But yeah, the reality is this, own your shit. The next one, going into court and being humble. You're owning your shit. The first thing the judge is going to see when they read your statement is you're owning your shit. People don't own their shit. People are too scared to own their shit. People are too scared to say, I've done that wrong, I've done this wrong, I've done that wrong. You do not understand how much credibility and how much trust and how much reward you get when you do that. And the reason you get reward and the reason you get credibility, this very reason. An alcoholic you cannot fix an alcoholic. An alcoholic or an addict of any type cannot be fixed. They realise that they are an addict of sorts. So an alcoholic will not ever fix this problem unless he or she accepts the fact that they are an alcoholic, because it's of the issue, and you can only fix the issue once you've accepted the issue, and you can see that there's a problem. So then you have to do something. Because it's a mindset. Allegations of drugs and alcohol, then you do an alcohol and drugs test. First thing they'll do, first of all, is they would ask you stuff from your GP. Get a letter from your GP highlighting any concerns they have with your alcohol and drug intake. If there's nothing on there, then, and that she'll insistent, or he's insistent that there is, then the judge might turn around and say, look, you need to go and get an but if there's no concerns there, and there's acceptance that you may have smoked cannabis or whatever, and the judge is bought into the fact that you are being real because you're owning your shit. They don't see people owning their shit. I promise you now, the reason that my people get cannabis, mushrooms, cocaine, ecstasy, all done. Yeah, he done a drugs test, shows that he's clean. He's done within 18 months. But I've got people in court for 4 years, going through process for 4 years. So similar dynamics, but the people who are in there for longer is either because the ex-partner is being really difficult, or because they've not owned their shit properly. It's not working for them. Yes, and then being humble falls into that nicely. So you can always learn. Every day is a school day. Yeah. So owning your shit, be humble, show sacrifice. The biggest sacrifice I made, which wasn't really a sacrifice, but that's what gave me the idea about this, is when the judge was going through with my stuff with Lila and everything. I don't want Christmas. And the judge was like, "What? You don't want Christmas?" I was like, "No, I don't want Christmas. I don't really like Christmas. Didn't really like this. Don't really like this time of year anyway. I had to pretend to like it when Lila was born. But now I can go back to being grumpy and whatever around this time of year. I'm not really grumpy, but I might be actually with the fireworks and shit. But I said, Lila, I don't have a big family. I said, I don't have a big family, so Lila needs to be with her mum because she has a big family and she can give her all the festive bullshit this time of year that kids like and kids need and blah blah blah." And that's what I did, and the judge was blown over, and I said, "I'll just have Boxing Day 4th of January or whatever," and then that's what we did, and that was absolutely fine. And Lindsay didn't like that, obviously, but that's why she kept going back to court and stopping and blah blah blah. And it's like that's the frustration, because it's unnecessarily. I've spent half of Lila's life with her having quality time. She's 16 years old, and I've spent less than half of her life having quality time. That gets me every time. I try and do anything about it now. It's too late. I've made it easy for her to have that choice. I made it easy for her to not to have to, and that's the decision I made to make sure that she was comfortable and she was happy doing what she needs to do and having her own life and having her own journey. People having their own life and having their own journey. And then obviously, so you've got sacrifice. So that's the sacrifice. I've sacrificed Christmas. That helped massively. You're going to get met with every single fucking problem there is. Every single problem there is, you're going to get met with it, and it'll be exaggerated and like when COVID happened. I don't drive, I rely on public transport. They stopped me. Like they stopped my overnight contact. Because I could. Mike said that they didn't know how bad COVID was. So it was best not to go in public transport. My daughter got public transport. The judge turned around and said that was the one decent thing that she said today. I don't even think that was right at all, because COVID, whatever your opinion is on COVID, she's still getting a bus to go to school. She's still getting public transport and going to school. Nothing's stopping her from then at that point. But she couldn't get on a bus or train to come and visit her dad. How fucking bizarre. I said, all right. So what I'll do every Sunday and every Saturday, I want to come and see Lila. I'll travel down here on the public transport, and we'll do the 15-minute walk or whatever you want to talk about. And then we did that for a little while, and then each time I did it, it got less and less and less and less time, because she was going home and she was getting told off, getting challenged by her mum and blah blah blah. So it got to the point that I was travelling down from Watford down to South London, Kidbrook, and then I would get a doorstep and then going back home. And I was doing that journey for like an hour and a half journey, nearly 2 hours in between trains, and depending on trains and whatnot. Sometimes with no bus, sometimes no trains, all just buses. It was a nightmare, but I did it all because I wanted to see my daughter, because I wanted to make sure that my daughter knew that I was there, and I had to make it as okay for her to do as possible. I remember walking home and walking off and saying to her that she didn't have to come and stay with me, and she didn't have to feel bad for tuning. I knew as she was getting older, she wanted to go shopping with her mates. I'm not going to go shopping. I hate shopping. So you want to go shopping with your mates, and her mates are in South London versus me in Watford, and there's in Watford. She didn't like my girlfriend at the time. So I said to her, you don't have to come and stay with me. And that was as I was walking away from that, having that conversation, I'm in tears. I'm in balls of tears to have that conversation. I didn't want to say to my daughter, don't come and see me. But I did, because I wanted her to be okay with it. I wanted her to not feel like she had to choose all the time. Because she was. No, she wasn't. She wasn't at all. But then that's the compromise and sacrifice you make. Yeah, you prepared with pragmatic, and pragmatism is the most frustrating thing within this family court setting. Going to rebuild a relationship with your children. It's not a natural environment. It's not a good environment. It's not good. It's better than nothing, but it's not ideal. And sometimes when you've got no safeguarding concerns, be in there in the first place, unless it's because the mum wants you to be in there, exaggerating issues and making life difficult for them. Because that's what happens. And again, the court of doubt, give mums benefit of the doubt because their mums are deemed to be more sensible than the dads, because the dads are all Homer Simpsons. But having that approach I've just talked about there, that's got me through family court and all the multiple cases I've done myself personally. And then I started realizing, I started teaching it out to other people. And it's something that you have to do. It's not just something sacrifice this and compromise that, and it needs to be strategic. It needs to be done at the right time, and you need to be taking responsibility for things as well. So that changed everything for me. It was big changes for how I spoke to people, how I saw things, and it's all about me. Things start with me and end with me. So people, when they point the finger of blame, they blame someone else for this, blame someone else. Question you in is a result of something. It's a result of a decision you've made. So you've got to accept that, and then you've got to try and work through that. And everything is a lesson. Even when you don't want the lessons, you have to accept it and take it on as a lesson. And that's when you think, rather than life happening in 2 years, happening for you. But sticking to them and not pointing the fingers of blame, being humble, all of these behaviours are what you want to be teaching your children anyway. So you're teaching your children how to behave, and when they're under stress and pressure, while being impulsive and fighting with their mum, because again, they don't want to see you fighting with their mum, and all you're going to be doing is fighting with their mum. So it's difficult, because that's what you have to do. And then you have to be like, literally, she's coming at you with fire and fury, and you're still being loving and kind and whatever. And I've got a couple of clients who are like, oh, my friend's the other day that he was finishing work, and his kid was outside the front of where he works, and there's the gran that had brought him there, and they're doing that on purpose. They're doing that on purpose to try and get a reaction out of him. And I'm saying, he's like, can I go get my child? And I'm like, you can't go and get your child. Well, you can, but this is what's going to happen afterwards. As a result of that, you're going to get blah 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 and blah blah blah. And he's like, no, but I've got parental responsibility. It doesn't, there's a court order in place. The courts have got parental responsibility. Yeah, so this is really important that you understand this. When you're going through court process, you've got parental responsibility, but that's a family court piece of paper. And you'll find that the mum doesn't normally comply with it, but you'll get held to account for it every time. And the indifferences that you're being treated, and how you're being treated is when you get in trouble, because then they start saying that you're mad, and they start saying it's all crazy, you're being silly, blah blah blah. I've got it coming on with a couple of people. Kafkas will gaslight you. So you've got all these behaviours that you're talking about. These behaviours are really important, but then you've got to use these behaviours when dealing with Kafkas or dealing with social services. And you've got to keep these people close. These are people who've got power. These people have got more power. Yeah. If you can avoid family court, avoid family court. Do not go to family court at all. If you then do, because the Kafkas policies have just recently changed, making it harder for men, especially if they're on the receiving end of allegations. If they're on the receiving end of false allegations, or exaggerated allegations, purely done to manipulate the system to get them to contact prevent, then you're fucked, basically, because they can fuck you over big time, especially if Kafkas are too naive to see it or pick up on it. And that does happen. You get some good Kafkas officers, and that's not a criticism of Kafkas as a business or a unit or whatever, because I'm not far right, I'm not fucking anti-family court, I'm not anything. I try and help men, mainly men, women too, get through family court and be child focused and use the negative and turn it into a massive positive, because the family court will bring the worst out of anybody, because it's designed to bring the worst out of you. They want men, I believe, to be angry, see how you react when you're angry, because they've got to make decisions about you and how you behave when you're under pressure and you're angry with your ex-partner in behind closed doors, behavior, and how you conduct yourself in public and then in front of the courts, and how much respect you're showing the courts to. They will then use that as that's your conduct behavior. Then the courts need to try and piss you off, and CAFCAS need to try and piss you off to try and get you to be bad and be angry, so they can see you at your worst. So you have to control. And someone who is impulsive, like I was, I would shoot down their mouths. I mean, I knew the answers to what they were asking me before they even asked me the question. It was bad. You get pulled down on that. So when you're doing that, when you're getting, you're doing your safeguarding interview with CAFCAS, you will find that they will be monitoring you on how quickly you respond. So if you are responding and you're not even letting them finish their last 2 or 3 words, and you're jumping down with you against you, yeah, you need to count to 5 seconds. You need to count to 5 in your head, yeah, count to 5, and then respond. And it should feel uncomfortable, because if you feel uncomfortable, then you're letting the time between them speaking and you absorbing what's being said, understanding what's being said, and then formulating a decent response. That's good. That's what it should be doing. That's what you should be doing. And it works, and they monitor that, and it works every time, because you're in control, because it shows you're being sensible, and it shows your emotions. So that's that. So we're now going into, it's like, they're not even that good. They're not even that good. The fireworks are not even that good. Why would you even waste your money? Put them in, what a waste of time, effort, and money. But then everyone has to celebrate it. Fine, blah, blah. But what? Guy Fawkes, anyway, I'm going from one. Forgive me, I've digressed. So the gatekeeping is for I've been electrocuted. The gatekeeping is from before you even got into court. So they do a gate to understand what direction the thing is going to move into. So you can use the term gatekeeping if it's relevant in the gatekeeping here, and this decision was made, that decision was made. The most important thing in family court is being you. You don't need to be anything you're not. Going against solicitors, going against barristers, you feel like sometimes, and the way people treat you, right? They talk down to you. The solicitors, the barristers, they talk to you in a way that what they're saying is actually going to happen. That's not the case. Yeah, that works. The judge is going to have the final decision. The judge will say what's going to go on. She manipulates contact, so I lose contact. Yeah, that's exactly it, man. My little girls, she's not little girl, 16. She's put Lila on. She's put Lila on every single after school activity there is. Every single after school activity, she was on it. Yeah. She did a Holy Communion on my contact weekend and didn't invite me to the Holy Communion. I still went. I found out about it, but contact, and I compromised. I sacrificed. I compromised. I said to Lila, rather than getting you at 12, I'll come back and get you at 6. Come back and went back to get her. There's fucking cocaine on the tables. This is a fucking Holy Communion. They were doing cocaine on tables, whatever. I said, right, Lila, we're going. Some blokes, one of Lindsay's, one of her old chums or whatever. I let him beat me up because I wasn't going to fight back, and plus I can't fight at all. So I let him beat me up, and then he got arrested. So they all got arrested. Put my daughter in my care for a couple of weeks, and then they gave her back to her. What can you do? What can you do? So she manipulates. That's what they do, and it's going to get harder. It's going to get easier for them. It's going to get easier for them because the CAFCAS policies have just changed. I would recommend reviewing if there's allegations of domestic violence or allegations of domestic violence or sexual allegations. The instant starting point is no contact, which is straight in as hell. Because if I've come across that now, and I'm going to come across it many times because you do. People like the first hearing, then you're going to be, we're not guaranteed contact, because the first hearing normally we do work pre-hearing to get the contact established or pre that first hearing. And if they're going to make it difficult like that with the policies, it's going to be even more difficult. Judge said that we served at the hearing. Yeah, so that's too many times you've been in court. That's what my ex-wife has got that. Well, it's passed now. But that's what they said. My ex-wife. So you've had multiple applications going in, And the courts are saying this is not fair on the kids now. It's not right on the children because there's multiple application there. If they get any issues after that, then it goes into public law proceedings. Then the courts make you both work together to get your children back. And if you can't work together to get you was banned for 2 years, or you were banned. Judge said she will be served at the final. Yeah. So wow. So yeah, 2 years. Mine was banned for 2 years. I didn't realise it was only for 2 years until I got the court order the other day. And I had to get that because I got a text message from child maintenance, and I don't think anything of it because yeah. And then it's not my fault. My ex-wife doesn't want to comply with the court order. My ex-wife has got Section 91.4 served on her, so she needed to make the application to court rather than her make the application to court because she had it served on her. And I didn't make the application to court. I didn't make it. So I'd already promised Lila we weren't going to court, and that's what I didn't do. And me and Lila just found a way through it, and that's what we did. But ultimately, yeah. So I've got people. We put a C2 application in the other week, and he's got a 91.4 served on him as well. And then he's only got concerns, and this is what does my head in. We've got concerns about no one takes them seriously. They listen to mum, and they listen to what she's got to say. And I refused supervised phone calls because she kept the kids silent, and I couldn't cope. I refused supervised phone calls. She was supervising phone calls. I don't blame you. Yeah, you should. Yes, you should refuse. Phone calls are difficult enough with kids in the first place. Phone calls are hard enough with kids, to try and get them to focus on you while you want to try and engage them, and you're trying to do shit to try and engage them or whatnot. Yeah, it's not easy. When the mum's there doing that to oversee and stuff, that's they have not got the freedom. And this is what's happened to Lila now. My daughter has lost her mum has just knocked out anything to do with me, any something that she used to enjoy doing, music, type of music she likes, singing, dancing, football, you name it, she's knocked that out of it. She's knocked that out of her. And now, when you started, it was 4 and 5, and now they're 8 and 10. That's exactly it. So that's exactly what it was like with me and Lila. Exactly the same with me and Lila. I said, and it was Lila when she got into. She was getting to the last years in primary school, and she said, we said like no more family court because she was getting fed up. She was embarrassed by it. Social services, CAFCAS, kids hate it. Lila has told me loads about how she felt, and I didn't even think about mistakes I'd made. I now have to. I don't have to. I chose to. I chose to apologise to Lila because something else dawned on me as well. And this is through my experience with family court. I never would have thought about this otherwise. My ex hates me. She hates me. I'm fucking fine. Whatever you want to hate me. I don't care. Impacts my daughter. So if I was to die, Lila's my next of kin. Lila would not be able to do a funeral or anything properly because she'd feel too that. And you'd probably get into an argument about it. So that's fucked in itself. But ultimately, I forgot what I was going to say there. Where was I going with that? Where was the big important thing there? Oh yeah, that was it. So Lindsay hates me, so I can't change it. But I will. I spoke to my ex-wife badly. I spoke to her badly. I did speak to her badly. I was abusive, and that makes me abusive. And I accept that because I was reacting to, and that's what I did, and that's why I did it. I kept off because my ex said they refused afterwards. They could see it was the other way around. But the first instinct was me. It was me that was doing the alienation. I've got a guy who's got his kids have been put into his care, and the first thing they're going on about now is alienation. We've tried giving her more than what we got when we were in her. She's kicked that back in our face, and they don't realise that. And so we're now going to go for contact centre and blah blah blah. But ultimately, that's what they will do. They will make to given situations and they get the support from the solicitors. Don't forget, I have no doubt if she's not got a solicitor, then that's probably a good thing. But does she have a solicitor? She's probably got a solicitor from legal aid. Got a solicitor from legal aid. Then the solicitor from legal aid is going to be giving her this information and telling her to say this and do that to get what she needs. So that's what they do. But today in court, I had this she was actually quite fit and really good barrister. And I don't normally get on with barristers. I don't. Because I think they're snaky and two-faced, and same as family law solicitors. Criminal solicitors are good. Criminal solicitors, loads of respect, loads of time. Family law solicitors, I've got no time for them whatsoever. Well, 2 years I will be one, but I'm not going to be like any of the others, that's for sure, because they're all. I mean, they've got no heart. They've got no conscience. They can do things, and they're not emotionally attached to it. I wouldn't be able to do that. I can't do that. I'm literally involved because if I'm working for someone, I want them to be successful because, and I'm not supposed to be because I'm not supposed to be, but that's how it is. I can't change that. You've always got a slight bias and whatever. Anyway, I'll stop talking now before I throw myself under a bus. But anyway, I'll go back to my script and what I should be saying. Come off topic again. I do apologise. Our children deserve the best from us as parents and as role models. They should always be at the heart of every decision we make, especially in challenging times like when you're going through breakup. How do we? Yeah, we go selfish. It's all about what we want and about what we can get. Kafkas have agreed to 6 months letters and 6 months phone contact, then maybe video. Is that your final? Is that your? Wow, man, that's you did that, mate. Fair play, respect to you, man. Respect to that. This is what I'm saying. I respect that, man, because people are saying I've got people who won't do DAP, and it stops them from seeing their kids. This is what you want. This is what you want. Okay, fair, mate. Even more respect. Slowly. You're doing what you need to do. Respect, massive respect. Because that's like people. I was speaking to someone the other day. He's like, he's not doing DAP, and then he won't do DAP. He won't do all the equivalent, and he won't do it, and that's stopping them, not letting him see his kids because of it. I'm like, well, that's a course. You're just not doing a course because your kids. I'm like, I said to him, do the course, but that's down to you paid for it yourself as well. I don't understand how you can do DAP. You jump through the hoops. This is what your argument needs to be. You can do DAP. You've done all this shit that they want you to do. You've got a decent recommendation from DAP. That should supersede what Kafkas have said, because they put you in a box. Again, Kafkas are putting you in a box, and you get out of that box. I bet they gaslit you on, mate, single interaction you have with Kafkas. Record everything with Kafkas. Do not tell them you're recording. Do not tell them you're recording. Just record them, because I've got recordings of them now, and I've got Kafkas lying on oath to judges and lying in court to judges, barefaced lying. Yeah, you recorded. You got good. Because if you've got anything on them, then transcribe that certain bit up. You've got say to don't take it into court straight away. Get the transcript into court. So this is what I've got. Her gaslighting me here, and here to get me talking about my daughter, and then she's flipping it back round on me in the report over there, or whatever the case might be, and then get it. Yeah, it's transcripted. Good. Well played, man. Well played. That's what you need to do. And then if you can, then you transcript as exhibits in court, get the judge to take note of what you're saying, and then you probably get criticised for recording. But if you've got it, but don't forget these are private law proceedings, yeah, and they can still fuck you over in private. They can still screw you over and say they can make anything be wrong. She literally made up a Blue Peter job exhibits that I had messaged her on Facebook. This is woman in my life. I literally never in my life, and because I had the blue tick at the time, she didn't have the blue tick on there. Didn't have the blue tick on what she manufactured, and on the corner you can see 2 times in the corner where she's apparently screenshotted it. But the Photoshop, I couldn't believe it. Surely, if she's using this as, I don't know your case, but surely if she's using this, then there needs to be a finding of facts here, and to clear out any allegations and have clear the air of any allegations that's being made, and get the court to put findings that it's either true or not true. And if it's not true, then as a reason not for you not to have contact. You had the finding of facts. Okay, good. And then what happened? What did the allegation get upheld, or? Oh, that doesn't surprise me. They fucking whitewash a guy. Yeah, they that's what they do. Yeah, that's what they try and say. Why were you deemed to be abusive? They take everything they can. I said, well, it depends how candid. But yeah, I see what they've done with you there. That's what they do, and that's what they do. That's exactly what they do. It's the psychology. And that's where horrible text meant, yep. No, I'm even guilty of that. When she's behaving like an idiot, I'll send her some fucking stupid text messages, and then I look back on the text message. I'm like, shit, I shouldn't have sent that. If I was in family court, I'd be getting told off for that. But some comments are okay. So that means some comments in this live are to the community experience. If anyone's put anything bad in there, then people want to come in as guests, I suppose. As guests, and then put in all shit in there. No, they're not. There's nothing bad in there. We're talking about. I can't see nothing bad in there. What is it? Truthful. That's all it is. And then they tell you off because you're being truthful. Careful now. You were deemed coerced. Yeah, mate. That's it. They fucking lembled you. Coerced control. We asked for finding a facts hearing the other week, of the month. We asked for finding a facts hearing, being abusive for asking for finding a facts hearing. But the evidence we would have would be compelling, and it shows that we're fucking victims of abuse, or my guys. But that's what they do, and that's how private law. You're fucked. Fucked you one way or another. Either way, they fuck you. If they want to fuck you, they'll fuck. They literally will. And that's clear that they've done there. Clear as anything. Anyway, back to the script, everyone. I digress again. So this basically the lives that I'm going to be doing, which should be every other day, for this perfect day for Carlos Fandango. This is a perfect example of why and what we'll be doing, because we've got a message to give. There'll be questions coming through as well, and that's exactly how it should be. So, I want to keep teaching people how to go through and deal with what Carlos has had to deal with, because if I was working with him, I would make sure that he would be prepared for eventuality, to make sure that I would do virtual court hearings. I would be the barrister or solicitor or whatever, and I would ask you the uncomfortable questions, and I would challenge you to get questions out and get your answers out, and then refine your answers. And then if you're going to be behaving a certain way, I'd say no, don't behave that way, blah blah blah. And it's not easy. It's not easy to do, but you have to. You've got to give the best version of you, and like I say, family court brings out the worst versions of everything. And you have to work on being the best version of you. But then, let's have a look at some of these key principles, these key behaviours, and some of the benefits that they offer, and the benefits they offer in court, and why you would use them in family situation. Because what you need to remember is family court is basically people going to family court, and it's a battleground. You don't want it to be a battleground. You can't have it being a battleground. You need it to be a place of love, a place of a place of love and respect. And you're just like, Jason, how much with fire and fury? Exactly. That's how you're supposed to do it. That's why you're supposed to do it. Don't engage. But the fact is, it's difficult, and I can do this, but I couldn't do it. When I was going through it all, I couldn't. I had to sit on my hands. I was impulsive. I was doing fucking farmers' rights campaigns and using court hearings for that, doing all sorts of crazy shit, stupid stuff. I wouldn't change any of it. Wouldn't change any of it at all. But I did it, and it didn't help my case at all. And I was when the judge, if I don't stop what I'm doing, I won't be seeing my daughter full stop. And it was when she said that, Judge Backhouse, when she said that, I was like, fuck. And I went and ditched Files for Justice afterwards. And I said, I don't want your help anymore. Can't be having that anymore. And then they were angry at me because I was meant to do a protest. I was meant to go to their school, and I was banned from neither school. And I can see now why I was banned, because they didn't want the conflict going into the school from either parent, from either me, ex-partner's mate who kicked off. But so I get that now. But in the time, it was anti-fathers, it's not right, it's not fair. But that's not the case. It's the children that matter. And the same with the family courts. The courts don't give a shit for mum, don't give a shit for dad. It's not a case of pulling down the points and person worse. Of course it is. Well, it is at the beginning. But you need to take it away from that. You need to take it away. You need to give love. Everything that's pointing into hate and anything that makes you want to feel a certain way and do it, you need to do the total opposite. So you need to make it loving. And then it took me 7 years to figure that shit out. And I was angry for 6, 7, 8 years. Everyone, like I say, blaming everything in the system, everyone else. My ex-wife, she was getting dick elsewhere as well. It's down to me. Every relationship ends with a breakdown of communication. Simple. When you accept that, and my ex-wife won't and doesn't, and so I have to carry her shit. So I've apologized to my daughter for how I've spoken to her, mum when we were together, because I don't want my daughter thinking or accepting or even remotely saying it's okay for anyone to speak to her when I spoke to her mum. And what I've done is I've normalized what she has seen people speak to her mum like. So Lila then will have in her subconscious the thoughts that she is supposed to be spoken to that way when she's in a relationship as well. And it's not okay. Not okay. So I make sure that I've apologized to Lila for that, and she's aware that I shouldn't have spoken to her mum in that way. And I think that's what you have to do. You have to own your shit. It's not just a case of owning your shit for the few little things that look nice and easy, but you have to have the difficult conversations as well. So look, I don't know if there's owning my shit allows you to point fingers and start being solution orientated. Yeah, that's one thing you need to remember. So that's one benefit of owning your shit. Being humble helps you keeps your well-being of the kids as a top priority. When I showed sacrifice, it wasn't just about what I'd lost, but it was about what my daughter was gaining. Offering compromise opened the doors to better communication, and being pragmatic ensured that the emotions didn't cloud my decision. My emotions didn't cloud my decision making. Our children deserve the best from us. As parents, and our role, we are role models. Them fireworks are shit. They really are shit. Really are rubbish. They're noisy, but they're rubbish. I'd be so disappointed if that was my fireworks display. I really would. Anyway, I'm joking. So our children deserve the best from us, and we need to give them the best. I mean, however we can, yeah. Especially in times like this. So using these tools will help you, and they'll help your daughter, and they'll help your children, and they'll help you do what you need to do to get there. And that and it's not always going to happen overnight. I didn't get a 50-50 court order until 2020. I was going to court multiple times before that and I normally give it to you. My ex was behaving so badly that they gave it to me. And that's just rare, because normally if they're behaving badly, you're not going to get 50-50. If you're arguing, because there's too much conflict for the child. It's hard. Because Lila was going between two households anyway and making her own way to school and stuff. I said, why can't she just do the same back to my house? Why can't she just go back to her house? Doesn't need a babysitter then, does she? Doesn't need someone picking her up then, does she? So Judge agreement. I said, yes, let's do that. That's what we did. But then it helped. What helped was my sacrificing. I deemed it coercive. I have to prepare submissions of the statement for next week. Not sure whether to highlight her behaviour. Difficult, because what if it's not being picked up? Then if it's not, then I wouldn't. I would try and highlight it. It's probably covert. She's probably doing covert attacking on you, so no one else can see it other than you. Only you know what would be pissing you off, and she's doing it because only she knows what would piss you off. So I would highlight the code, but then no one is qualified in Kafkas to understand that. They don't understand parent alienation, the emotional abuse that's caused, and that I'm to do around punishment of children to get them to behave a certain way. I've seen my ex-wife do it to my daughter. I've seen other parents do it to their children. And Kafkas don't see that, whatever. But I would try and stay away from saying anything wrong about her. And if you would, and probably like this, like I would highlight the fact that she's emotionally abusing me. But it's covert. You lot can't see that she is attacking me on because it's all covert, and you're not skilled in that line of. You're not skilled in that way because Kafkas aren't skilled in psychology to understand the emotional attacks and narcissistic attacks that they can put on you. But yeah, I'd be really careful with that. Really careful. Wow. Yeah, I'd be really. That's quite scary. So I'm going to try to get back on track where I was, but I've not gone through my key message. You know what the core behaviours are now. So that's what you need to focus on, is those core behaviours and being pragmatic, all that sort of stuff. You've done that. It's about making the right decisions in court, and you're being watched from the moment you walk into court, from the moment you walk out of court. For me, your Kafkas interview It used to be, before these policy changes, the bigger than your court date. I have a feeling now things could be changing, because I think your court dates are now going to turn into be an opportunity, because Kafkas are going to put you in a box. If there's an allegation of sexual or and without any proof still, then they will presume you guilty. So there'll be no contact straight off. And it'll be down to you in court. And I think that's going to be the next challenge that we have as men, and going through family court as the accused. I can't stress it enough. That what you have to do when you are going through this stuff is own your shit. Own your shit. She said, prohibit steps order on me while I was living in Thailand. I'm hoping to have that cancelled. Yeah, if there's no reason for you going back, that should be removed. It should be removed. I mean, at the end of these cases, that's such a rubbish firework. At the end of these cases, they would normally remove them unless they're still considered a flight risk. If you have no intentions of moving out there, and there's, then they should remove it. But whether they do or not, if you've behaved, if they deem you as behaved, they probably won't take it off. Because they'll see it as another way of punishing you and getting another. Bear in mind, my mate got not my mate. Can't send interference. He got a 5-year non-molestation order, and he had the proof, the evidence, the exhibits that they were using against him was all manufactured, and you could see it was manufactured. Nothing, and that's the issue with private law proceedings. So if you've got whatever outcome you get, if you're not happy with it, then you can appeal it. Even if it gets rejected, ask for the appeal in court. You can still appeal it even when they say no. So if you need help with that, give me a shout. I can help with that. Because sometimes we can get the short straw without even realising, and that's a bit rubbish that you've got that. But then that's what you want. But until they're 16, wow, fucking hell, that's tough. That is tough. I'd be appealing that somehow. I mean, I need to see the paperwork, and you need to listen to your recordings and see what you've got on the recordings of Kafkas and seeing how they're reporting your interactions. I mean, you might want to send me. I mean, I can have a look at it. I can't really have a look at it tonight, but I could. But if you want to send me, I can have a look at it. And you need to tell me what they need to listen to, what your recordings are, and find out if what's on the recordings are the same as what's been in the report. And then someone wants to just go in as an invite there. I don't know if that's going to. I don't know. Oh, do you want to do it live as a guest? Oh, I didn't realise that. I didn't realise you would do it live as a guest. I didn't realise that. I don't do lives with people. Well, you could, but anyway. So I'm going back to script again. So this next section is about equipping you with the tools to and tips and stories to navigate family court with grace and focus on what counts your little kids. That's your children. So let's look a little bit deeper at this. So we'll have some real life scenarios and some actionable strategies that I can share with you. Yeah, Anthony. So basically, Anthony's been on a long journey. Court have even lost his paperwork, and we were a whole 2 years without going into court. And yeah, took a long time, but things have happened. And the children have been now put into his care. Before it got to that point, he was going into his relationship with his ex-partner, showing respect, doing everything the opposite of what he wanted to do. And that, again, helped their relationship. And obviously the relationship's pulling me backwards now for other reasons. But they were both at a point where, for the sake of their kids, they were doing so it can be done. I'm seeing more and more parents, especially recently, actually. So I'm going to give it some, when I say more and more parents, there's more people doing it. That's always better than, none. Than none. But ultimately, people are able to do it, and it does. You don't argue, and you don't have to argue. You don't have to argue. It doesn't have to be that way. End the argument, end the conflict, and if you end the conflict, if you end the war, then you're fine. Courts are pretty nicer to you. Your ex is pretty nicer to you, and well, I'll take that. My ex hasn't spoken to me, and I've not done anything that warrants that. prove that she lied. But then what can you do? I think I've done my hour now, and I need to stick to my clocking time because I've got other people to call, and I've got paperwork to finish, and I need to eat my breakfast because I've not had my breakfast yet today. Started early hours this morning because I was in Portsmouth this morning, and now I'm back in London. I'm loving the Oxman. Poor hedgehogs. Come on now. But I think on the next live I'm doing, I'll probably do another one tomorrow night. We'll keep an eye on things. When I put it in there, that's when I'm doing the next live. It'll put the next one. So if you did get anything from this, you're N24 here in the same time. Oh, okay, wow, mate, drop me a message. And if you see if there's anything I can do to help you. And if do that. And anyone else who's watched this or picked up, great. If not, I will see people either tomorrow or the day after. Peace and love, everyone. Peace and love. Lila's glove. Peace and love. There we go.